Everyone, today I'm going to talk about the 2013 supplemental draft prospects. I have my notes here. I'm going to take a quick peek from time to time and just talk about all these guys. We've had someone selected in the supplemental draft. I think it's been about 6 straight years. And we've seen some notables. Josh Gordon last year, for example. This year, not quite as good, and I don't have any of them as draftable prospects. So if that's what you're coming for, well, you can turn it off now, I guess. But if your team picked up one of these guys or might be interested in one of these guys, I'll give you a little rundown. The guy I think has the most upside of this group is Damond Smith. He's a cornerback from South Alabama. He kind of moved around. He was on Western Michigan for a while, got in a fight with a teammate. They kicked him out. You know, a lot of these guys have off-the-field problems. That's why you're in the supplemental draft, because you have some off-the-field issues. He has some upside, though. He's 6 feet tall, 190 pounds. He can run in the 4.4s. He's pretty fast. I watched him actually pre-draft because myself, him, his agent, and even some NFL teams thought he was eligible for the draft, but he still had 1 year of eligibility left, so now he has to enter the supplemental draft. The Packers actually tried to pick him up for their camp, and we're not able or allowed to do that. So I think he's someone that's going to make a camp. I think he has the size and the speed to be in the NFL. Now, he played at a very low level of competition in South Alabama, but obviously had the talent to go to a MAC school. So he's someone to look for if he gets into a camp. Not great ball skills. I think someone with that type of size and speed, you'd hope maybe can make some big plays. He's going to have to make his money on special teams. Definitely a lot of technique work that needs done if he's going to make an NFL roster. So I think he's intriguing, though. Another intriguing player who I followed in the Big Ten is O.J. Ross, wide receiver from Purdue. Now, he's a smaller guy. He's under 5'10", under 190 pounds. More of a return specialist, maybe slot receiver type of player. I don't think he gets drafted either, just because he's another one that has some of those, I think he has some academic issues, if I'm correct, that he's not eligible to play. So that's going to be a big problem as people are looking at this. Now, the other thing with O.J. Ross is he does have some special teams ability. That's where he did a lot of damage. He was pretty productive as a slot receiver. He even played some outside for Purdue. He was one of their main offensive threats. For his size, he doesn't have this great deep speed. He's not running 4.3, 4.4 flat, anything like that. I bet his 40 time would actually look more in the 4.5s. So when you combine that size and speed with the academic issues, I don't think it gets him drafted, but I think he's another player that gets into a camp. The rest of the players in this in here, I'm not sure if they make a camp. I'm not sure if the rest of the supplemental draft players make a camp. One of the other intriguing guys, Toby Jackson, defensive end from UCF. And let me get his vitals here: 6'5", 270 pounds. Defensive end, so you know he's a bigger guy, and he definitely has some athleticism for a player who's 270 pounds. He can move across the line. I think 1 or 1.5 games of UCF, so I didn't watch a whole lot of him. But what I saw was a player that can get into the backfield. Doesn't have great range for a player of his size. You'd like to see him get to the sideline more, do a little bit more against the run. Not great at that. He doesn't always disengage very well, but he's someone that's athletic and big. So that can often get you into a camp, at least get a tryout with the team. One of the wide receivers I don't think is going to make much damage is Houston wide receiver DeWayne. He's someone who's just another guy. Wasn't overly productive in Houston, and this was a system previous that really was open Kevin Sumlin when he was there. So you expect some decent statistics if you have NFL talent at the very least. Didn't see a whole lot of that from him. He's not very fast. He's not towering. You know, he's 5'11", 190, 200 pounds. So it's kind of average. He never stood out to me. I don't really see him as an NFL talent. And then 2 players from UNLV. One that might be a little intriguing, James Boyd, the defensive end. He bounced all over the place. He was bouncing from team to team, went to community college at one point. He actually was a high recruit, went to USC, and then he was playing defensive end. They moved him to quarterback in community college. He went back to defensive end. He's kind of moved positions all over the place. So he's never really had a big-time experience despite being a great athlete coming out of high school. So you always wonder about that. You know, he's 6'5", 250 pounds, so definitely a player that you're going to have to find a good fit in your system. Maybe you could stand him up even in some spots. I think it's very, very tentative where he can fit in the NFL. That's why I don't think he gets drafted. The other UNLV player, Nate Holloway, nose tackle from UNLV, 370 pounds, I think he's listed at. So big guy. We've seen it in the NFL draft. Those tackles have fallen down. He doesn't get good push. He doesn't have much of a pass rush. A couple times he got in the backfield, but nothing to speak of big with him. So kind of a weaker supplemental draft class. Charles Sims, transferred to West Virginia from Houston, almost was in here. He would have been a player definitely drafted. I don't think any of these players get drafted. If I have to take a guess, any of these guys could. I think maybe if someone really wants Damond Smith in their camp, 7th round pick you could spend on him. Maybe O.J. Ross if someone's really in love, but I doubt we see anything more than a 6th rounder. I would bet on no one getting drafted in this supplemental draft, but a lot of these guys getting a tryout, or at the very least, with NFL teams. So, come back Draft TV. If someone does get drafted especially, might be doing a follow-up for that. If you have any questions, hit me up on Twitter at Shane P. Hallam. And if you're checking this out on Monday, the 8th, tonight at midnight, I will be doing a NCAA stream. NCAA 14 comes out this week. I'll be streaming probably throughout the week, plenty. So be sure to come back to Draft TV. If you go to home in the upper left-hand corner, you can find the stream. We'll have that up tonight as the main page. So thanks, everyone, for coming to Draft TV, and I hope you enjoyed it.